Good morning. Welcome to Morning Meditation. Great to have you with us. The proposed 5 inches of snow did not arrive. That was kind of unfortunate, although the roads are a lot nicer than they certainly could have been. Great to have you with us this day. Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and I'm going to take one could certainly do a biblical work on nonviolence, and maybe I'll do that next week, because that would be a very interesting study. And of course, there's considerable violence in the Old Testament, and in some ways violence in the New Testament. And so to look at that would be super interesting. And that's one of the marks of Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, is that he preached justice through nonviolence, and quite powerful for us today. That being said, I'm taking a different track, one that in my 5-minute Google search of this, I could not find anything per se written about this. This is the use of foreign people in the scriptures, and they're striking. The examples are striking. Abraham goes down to Egypt with his wife, and the Pharaoh of Egypt acts more uprightly than Abraham does. This theme of foreign people acting uprightly in the presence of the Jewish people. And of course, this isn't the Hebrew people. This isn't in any way, I'm not meaning this in any way a knock on Hebrew people, but it's the way the scriptures use it, the people of God. And so we could put ourselves in there as we consider ourselves the people of God. We could put ourselves into this, that God uses foreign people to upbraid the people of God. Interesting. It's an interesting motif, and like I said, one that is probably all over the place. People have probably written volumes about this, but I don't remember hearing about it in seminary, nor was there any easy... Of course, individual stories were pointed out, but as a motif, how does this work as a motif? I'm going to start with probably my favorite. And always when you start with your favorite, you have a tendency to go downhill after that, but I think we'll end with Jesus, so that's why I'm going to go this way with it. My favorite is our good friend Jonah, and this is awesome stuff. And so we're going to go to Jonah, chapter 1. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, set out for the great city of Nineveh. Now, this is the capital of Assyria. This book is written well after Assyria is fallen and in ruins, but it's sort of a fable kicking it back to the past. And so this really is a parable. And so I think in Israel you can go see the remains of Jonah's whale somewhere. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's unlikely at best, because it truly is a parable. It's written as a parable and makes no bones about being a parable. Set out for the great city of Nineveh. And so this city destroyed the northern kingdom, locked up the southern kingdom, not a beloved city at all. Sort of carrying the mark of Moscow during the Cold War, sort of having that kind of vibe about it. Set up the great city, preach against it. Their wickedness has come before me. But Jonah made ready to flee to Tarshish. He was supposed to go east. He went west. He went down to Joppa, found a ship going to Tarshish, paid the fare, went down in it to go with them to Tarshish away from the Lord. The Lord, however, hurled a great wind upon the sea, and the storm was so great, and the ship was about to break up. Then the sailors were afraid, and each one cried to his God. This is small g in the translation I'm using, which is USCCB. Cried to his God. And so this is not the God of Israel that they're crying out to. They're crying out to their gods. To lighten the ship for themselves, they threw cargo into the sea. Meanwhile, Jonah had gone out into the hold of the ship and lay there fast asleep. I had actually forgotten this little detail. that I'm not sure how this parallels Christ in the boat sleeping on a cushion while the wind is raging outside. Once again, I've not heard any parallel of that, but it is an interesting question. The captain approached him and said, "What are you doing asleep? Get up and call on your God. Perhaps this God will be mindful of us so that we will not perish." Then they said to one another, "Come, let us cast lots to discover on whose account this evil has come to us." So they cast lots, and the lots fell to Jonah. Interesting detail, which I'm not going to comment on, but it's interesting. They said to him, "Tell us why this evil has come to us. What is your business? Where do you come from? What is your country? What people do you belong to?" "I am a Hebrew."
Say it that way. Sorry.
I am a Hebrew, right? I am a Hebrew. Did you know there's beer in the Bible? Yes. Hebrew and Israelite. All right. "I am a Hebrew, he replied. "I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Right? Now the men were seized with great fear and said to him, "How could you do such a thing?" They knew that he was fleeing from the Lord because he had told them. And when they find out who his God was, they act far more justly than Jonah. This is interesting stuff. "What shall we do with you that the sea may calm down for us?" The sea was growing more and more stormy. Jonah responded, "Pick me up and hurl me into the sea, and then the sea will calm down for you. For I know this great storm has come upon you because of me." They did not do this immediately. Still the men rowed hard to return to dry land. But they could not, for the sea grew more and more stormy. Then they cried out to the Lord. This is capital L. They're not crying out any longer to their gods. "Please, O Lord, do not let us perish for taking this man's life. Do not charge us with shedding innocent blood. For you, Lord, have accomplished all you have desired." Then they picked up Jonah, hurled him into the sea, and the sea stopped raging. Seized with great awe of the Lord, the men offered sacrifice to the Lord, capital L, and made vows or promises to the Lord to serve the Lord. And so this is a point where the Lord uses a people who is not his own to shame his own people, to show his own people how they're really supposed to act. Their great care for the life of Jonah, even though they know he's the problem. And he tells them, "Throw me into the sea." They do not immediately do this. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Another great biblical story. This is the story of Uriah the Hittite. We remember Uriah because we just heard him mentioned in Matthew's gospel. This great genealogy, right? And I spoke about this a bit, that David's son, David begot Solomon, whose mother had been the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Does it say Hittite or does it say Uriah in Matthew's gospel?
I'll check. I thought just
We're all supposed to know because in the Old Testament story, it's all the time Uriah the Hittite. This is one of the tribes, if you'll remember, they come into Canaan, the promised land. It's filled with Jebusites, Hittites, Perizzites, all these different sites.
So far it says Uriah. I'll check one other place. Just Uriah.
Just Uriah. But it is so clear. David's, he's out for his evening stroll, spies the beautiful woman. She is Bathsheba, daughter of Eliam, wife of Uriah the Hittite. Joab's armor bearer. So this dude is like number 2 in command in David's army, the Hittite, this foreigner. David said, messengers took her, they had their relationship. She becomes pregnant. And so David wants to cover this up. And so he sends for Uriah. David sends for him. How's the war going? How's Joab? Uriah answered that all was well. Then David said, go down to your house. He left the king's house. And once again, the foreigner, the non-Hebrew, is the one who acts uprightly. Uriah slept at the entrance of the king's house with the other officers of his lord and did not go down to his own house. David was told Uriah has not gone down to his house. And so David asked Uriah, why did you not go down? Uriah answered David, the ark and Israel and Judah are staying in tents, right? This is presumably a non-Jewish person. The ark, Israel, and Judah are staying in tents. My lord's Joab, my lord's servants are encamped in the open field. Can I go down home to eat, to drink, to sleep with my life? As the Lord lives and as you live, I will do no such thing. So once again, the foreign person shows the chosen people how they are to live. And you probably know the rest of the story, where David sends the message, have Uriah killed. And so Joab puts him out where there's heavy fighting. He pulls back. Uriah's left out there on his own, and he is killed. Then the beautiful parable the Lord sent Nathan the prophet to David when he came to him. I talk about this with prophets. This is one of the things that they do in the Old Testament, is they upbraid the leader, at least certainly in the first generations. In the later generations, it seemed like they do that. But they're sort of a corrective branch of the government on the king. The king is not carte blanche. The king is obliged to listen to the prophet. The Lord sent Nathan to David when he came to him. He said, tell me how you judge this case. In a certain town there were 2 men, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had flocks and herds in great numbers, but the poor man had nothing at all except one little ewe lamb that he had brought up. He nourished her. She grew up with him and his children. Of what little he had she ate. From his own cup she drank, and in his bosom she slept. She was like a daughter to him. Now a visitor came to the rich man, but he spared his own flocks and herds to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. He took the poor man's ewe lamb and prepared it for the one who had come to him. David grew very angry with that man and said to Nathan, as the Lord lived, the man who has done this deserves death. He shall make 4-fold restitution for the lamb because he has done this and was unsparing. Then Nathan said to David, you are the man. You have cut down the Uriah the Hittite. As I said, in the Old Testament, it's interesting. He's always Uriah the Hittite. He never gets formalized as just Uriah. They emphasize that he is a foreigner. You've cut down Uriah the Hittite with the sword. His wife you took as your own, and him you killed with the sword of the Ammonites. Even though he is a foreigner, his death is wicked in the eyes of God. Wicked in the eyes of God. And so, beautiful passage. And of course, Uriah is the righteous one. The Lord's ark is living in a tent. How can I go down to my house? Beautiful stuff, teaching us that. So I will draw upon the New Testament for the final one. I'm going to first read a little bit from John 4, which I've mentioned more than once, twice, or three times in morning meditation. It is the story of the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. Jesus asked her for a drink, and so the Samaritan woman said to him, "How can you, a Jew, ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink? For Jews use nothing in common with Samaritans." And so then this is the attitude of Jewish people, tend to be Jewish people. And then later on the Samaritan woman say, "You people say that Jerusalem is the place of worship." And so this attitude of Samaritans, and I say this because I was watching a news story or something, and they were talking about Samaritans, and it was like Samaritans were known for their goodness in the Bible. Well, they're known for their goodness in one particular story in the Bible. The rest of the time, they're not known for too much of their particular goodness. And so we can sometimes get a little bit confused by basing our whole biblical fact on one story. All right. The Good Samaritan is only in one gospel. We've been together long enough now that you can maybe guess which gospel this is. Oh, maybe not. Okay. This is in Luke's gospel. Luke's chapter 10. And so we hear it again, recognizing that this is definitely one of those biblical motif stories where the foreign person is used to upbraid the locals. "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side." We know this is about ritual purity and, trying to, these are people of worship, and so they have to remain ritually pure. They cannot touch the blood and remain ritually pure. They have to do a lengthy purification to do so. The Samaritan traveler, but a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wound, bandaged them. Then he lifted him on his own animal, took him to an inn and cared for him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins, gave them to the innkeeper. "Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on the way back." And so I've talked about this parable and often used like, this person was from Wisconsin. This person was from Iowa. This person was a Canadian. This person wasn't of the tribe from whom you thought would be the one who would have compassion. Yeah, this person was a Democrat. Oh yeah, I did use that one. This person was a Trump. This person was a Trump supporter. This person, I've used those two. This person was a Democrat. This person was, of course, in our time, perhaps a Somalian or a person from Mexico. And so it's the person you least expect it to be. Has this compassion for the one in need. And so the foreign person is used to upbraid, to bring a greater realization to probably the native or the more powerful tribe, perhaps. And so this motif of respect and allowing other cultures to teach us and to help us grow is definitely a biblical motif with powerful examples. And so as we remember Martin Luther King this weekend, of course, we also have our Respect Life Sunday this week, and we'll do something on that, I think, next week as well. I don't think that far in advance generally, but we'll work on that. That's closer to the 22nd, I think. Is 22nd or 23rd? 22nd is Respect Life. And so the Mass on the morning of the 22nd at St. Anthony, we will do prayers for Respect Life. Bishop at St. Anthony's on Sunday, 4 o'clock, 3:30 Rosary, 4 o'clock Sunday is the Vespers, the evening prayer with the Bishop for Life. And so we will have those. We will definitely have petitions this weekend praying for racial care and really that nonviolent work for change in our society. All right? Peace. God bless you.